My cheating wife filed for divorce on Christmas Day. Then her family started cheering. What I did shocked them. Please, before we continue, kindly like, share, and subscribe for more interesting stories. I never thought I'd spend Christmas morning watching my wife's family cheer as she filed for divorce. But what they didn't know was that I'd been waiting for this exact moment, and the gift I had prepared for them would silence every last one of their laughs. The room smelled of pine and roasted turkey, twinkling lights casting warm shadows across the walls, while kids tore through wrapping paper like they were mining for gold. It should have been a moment of peace, of family, of gratitude. But when Madison cleared her throat and stood up, wine glass trembling in her manicured hand, I knew peace had just been evicted from the building. Her smile stretched tight across her face like plastic wrap as she raised her glass. "Merry Christmas, everyone," she said, her voice carrying that fake sweetness she used in client meetings. Her eyes darted to her mother like she needed permission before dropping the bomb. "I filed for divorce yesterday." The silence lasted maybe 2 seconds. Then, like wolves catching the scent of fresh blood, they erupted, howling with laughter and applause. Her sister Brooke squealed like she'd just won the lottery. Her brother Landon slapped the table so hard the gravy boat jumped, cheering like his team just scored the winning touchdown. Her mother dabbed at fake tears with her cloth napkin, grinning from ear to ear like Christmas morning had delivered exactly what she'd been praying for. Even her father, Roy, who'd spent 20 years looking at me like I was something he'd scraped off his Italian leather shoes, gave the smuggest nod I'd ever seen and raised his crystal glass high in the air. I sat perfectly still, hands folded like I was attending Sunday service, a faint smile tugging at my lips. They thought I was broken. They thought I'd crumble like wet drywall. But I wasn't surprised, not even close. I'd been expecting this moment for exactly 14 months. Hell, I'd been preparing for it like a general planning a siege. Madison leaned forward, her eyes sharp with triumph, probably thinking she'd just delivered the killing blow. "It's time for a new beginning, Wyatt, a fresh start for both of us." Her words dripped like poison from a leaky pipe, but I stayed calm as morning coffee. I tilted my head and asked, voice gentle as a whisper, "Are you absolutely sure you want to do this today, Madison?" She arched one perfectly sculpted eyebrow, mocking me like I was some confused child. "Why not today? It's Christmas, the perfect day for freedom." The family cheered louder, their voices bouncing off the walls like construction noise. Freedom. That's what she called it. The same woman who used to whisper sweet lies into her phone at midnight, telling another man not to worry because her construction worker husband was too stupid to notice. The same woman who'd been bleeding our company accounts dry for exactly 14 months, wearing jewelry I unknowingly paid for while calling me unambitious to her girlfriends. The same woman who once laughed with her book club when my business credit card got declined at dinner, never admitting she'd moved the money that very afternoon to cover another weekend getaway with her lover. I had watched it all. I had listened to every lie. I had documented every theft, every late-night phone call, every unexplained hotel charge, every bogus client meeting that happened to coincide with spa weekends in Aspen. Starting in October of last year, when I first noticed the pattern, I had let her think she was playing chess while I was building a concrete foundation for her downfall. Her mother leaned toward me with that condescending smile she'd perfected over 2 decades of looking down on me. "Wyatt, honey, don't make this more difficult than it needs to be. Madison deserves so much better than..." She waved her hand at me like I was discount furniture. I took a slow sip of my wine, that smile still dancing on my face. If only you knew what's coming, I thought to myself. If only you knew that today's gift isn't just for Madison, it's for every single one of you. "Merry Christmas, Madison," I whispered back, my voice carrying just enough edge to make her blink twice. I'd be lying through my teeth if I said Madison's announcement caught me off guard. Truth is, I'd seen this freight train coming down the tracks since October 15th of last year, when I first noticed something wasn't right. It started quiet, like a hairline crack in concrete. You don't notice it at first, but eventually, the whole foundation starts to shift. That was when late nights became her new religion. She'd wait until she thought I was dead to the world, then slip that phone under the covers and whisper like a teenager hiding from her parents. But here's the thing about construction workers. We're light sleepers. 20 years of early morning job sites will do that to a man. I'd lie there in the darkness, eyes barely cracked open, breathing steady and even, while her voice slithered through the silence like a snake through tall grass. "Don't worry, baby. He doesn't suspect anything," she once whispered, her tone dripping with that fake sweetness she'd perfected. A pause, then a giggle that made my stomach turn. "No, he's too focused on his little construction projects to notice." Her words cut deep as a reciprocating saw, but I didn't move a muscle. I just tightened my grip on the sheet edge and listened like my life depended on it. The phone buzzed again, and I caught a glimpse of the contact name glowing in the darkness. Client meeting. Brooks. Client meeting, my ass. Brooks Manning, from Rocky Mountain Materials. The slick-talking sales director who'd been trying to get his foot in the door on our major projects for months. The irony was thicker than wet cement. While I was rejecting his bids during the day, he was apparently winning a different kind of contract at night. The next morning, I tested the waters. "How'd that client meeting go last night?" I asked casually over coffee, my eyes hidden behind the Denver Post business section. She froze for exactly 2 seconds, I counted, before forcing that practice smile. "Oh, exhausting. You know how these marketing presentations can drag on." She was good, I'll give her credit. Her lie was smooth as polished marble. But I'd been reading people on job sites for 2 decades, and Madison's tells were easier to spot than a crooked wall. I didn't push it. Not yet. Instead, I started watching closer, like a site supervisor checking for code violations. That's when I made my first strategic move, something I should have done years earlier as a security measure for our company vehicles. "Insurance is requiring GPS tracking on all company cars," I told her the following week, showing her the official-looking documentation I'd prepared. "Fleet management says it's mandatory for theft protection and mileage verification." Madison barely glanced at the paperwork before signing the consent form. Why would she question it? Her husband, the construction worker, was just following company policy. What she didn't realize was that I'd been researching GPS tracking systems for 3 weeks, studying the legal requirements for spousal consent, making sure everything was ironclad and admissible. Every time her phone buzzed after that, she'd flip it face down faster than a card dealer. Every time I walked into a room, she'd angle her screen away like she was protecting state secrets. And every night when she thought I was sleeping, those whispered conversations continued like some twisted bedtime story. The GPS tracker told me exactly where those late client meetings were really happening. October through December of last year, Madison's BMW made 17 trips to the Copper Mountain Resort. 17 times she lied about working late while actually spending company money on romantic getaways. The pattern was clearer than blueprints. Every Thursday evening, every other weekend, same destination, same duration. I remember one night in particular that November. The winter wind was howling outside our Lakewood house, rattling the windows like an angry spirit. I cracked one eye open and saw her sitting on the edge of our king-size bed, phone pressed to her ear, her silhouette outlined by the streetlight bleeding through the blinds. "Soon, baby," she murmured, voice trembling with anticipation. "Just a little more patience. After the holidays, everything will be perfect." I wanted to sit up right then and there, to demand answers, to grab that phone and hear the voice on the other end. But my father's words echoed in my head, advice he'd given me when I was learning the construction trade. "Son, never swing a sledgehammer when a feather hammer will do the job. Build your case properly, document every flaw, then bring the whole structure down at once." So I stayed motionless, breathing steady and even, letting her believe I was just another sleeping fool while she planned my destruction. The next morning, I walked into the living room and found her phone sitting on the coffee table, screen still lit up from a text message. The contact name, Client Meeting Brooks, stared back at me, and below it, a message that made my blood run cold. "Can't wait to celebrate our new beginning. The cabin is perfect for New Year's." I didn't read further, didn't need to. I simply smiled to myself, knowing that the game had just shifted from suspicion to certainty. That's when I started building my real case, piece by methodical piece. Madison thought she was playing contractor poker with a construction worker. What she didn't realize was that I'd been managing complex projects with million-dollar budgets for 2 decades. I knew how to plan, how to coordinate multiple moving parts, how to execute flawlessly when the timeline mattered. By January, I had established my surveillance routine. Every company credit card transaction was automatically forwarded to my personal email. a security measure I'd implemented after Madison gained access to our business accounts for marketing expenses. Every GPS location was logged and cross-referenced with her claimed schedule. Every late-night phone call was noted with date, time, and duration. The evidence accumulated like concrete setting in forms, slow, methodical, permanent. Hotel bills from Copper Mountain charged as client entertainment, jewelry purchases from Tiffany labeled as corporate gifts, spa treatments categorized as team-building expenses. Madison's affair wasn't just adultery anymore, it was systematic embezzlement, documented with her own signature on every fraudulent receipt. The breaking point came on a Tuesday afternoon in March when I tried to pay for materials at the supply yard. $4,700 for steel beams, a routine purchase for the downtown project I was managing. My company card got declined. Not insufficient funds, not a processing error. Declined like I was some deadbeat trying to buy cigarettes with a maxed-out credit card. I stood there in front of the supply clerk, my crew waiting behind me, feeling my face burn with embarrassment while I called the bank from the parking lot. The customer service rep delivered the news in that monotone voice they use for delivering bad news. Mr. Coleman, there have been several large transactions over the past week that have depleted your available credit. Would you like me to review them? I listened to the list with growing fury. Nordstrom, $1,500. Rocky Mountain Spa Resort, $2,000 for a corporate retreat. Jewelry stores, restaurants, hotels. A paper trail of Madison's. A fair funded with money meant for construction materials. The final entry made my blood boil. Manning Materials Supply, $4,000, authorized by Madison Coleman for promotional client materials. Manning Materials. Brooks Manning's company. Madison had used our business credit to buy promotional materials from the man she was sleeping with, then authorized the purchase under the pretense of client relations. $4,000 seemed high for promotional materials, but I'd later discover it wasn't materials at all. It was jewelry, weekend getaways, and expensive dinners disguised as business expenses. It wasn't just adultery anymore. It was embezzlement, theft, fraud. She'd turned our marriage into a criminal enterprise. I drove home that night with a plan crystallizing in my head like ice forming on a window. I pulled every bank statement, every credit card record, every receipt I could find. Madison's signature was on dozens of unauthorized purchases, her handwriting documenting 14 months of systematic theft. Company funds diverted to personal expenses, business accounts used to finance her affair, corporate credit cards treated like her personal shopping budget. The most damning evidence was a hotel bill from the Copper Mountain Resort, the same place the GPS had tracked her 17 times. $1,200 for a weekend suite, charged to our company account, and signed off by Madison as a client entertainment expense. I made copies of everything, organized it like a legal brief, cross-referenced dates and amounts until I had a timeline that told the complete story. Madison thought she was clever, thought she could blend her theft into legitimate business expenses. What she didn't realize was that I'd been reading construction contracts and managing project budgets for 20 years. I knew exactly what legitimate expenses looked like, and her spending pattern stood out like a crooked foundation. But building a case was only half the battle. I needed to protect what was mine before she could take it. That's when I made the smartest decision of my life, consulting a lawyer about asset protection 6 months before Madison's Christmas announcement. The attorney explained that I needed Madison's consent to transfer our house deed, but there was another option. Given the evidence of ongoing embezzlement, he said, reviewing my documentation, we can establish a family trust with your sister as trustee. Since the house was purchased primarily with your income, and she's committed fraud against jointly owned business assets, we have grounds to protect the property from potential criminal forfeiture. Madison signed the trust paperwork without reading it. I'd presented it as estate planning for tax purposes after getting my promotion to regional director. She was so distracted by her affair that she barely glanced at the documents, trusting her construction worker husband to handle this boring financial details. If there's one lesson I learned about Madison's family over the years, it's that they never wasted a chance to remind me I didn't belong in their world. Christmas morning was just the grand finale of a show they'd been rehearsing for decades. Her mother, Diane, was the director of this little drama, a sharp-tongued woman with a permanent sneer who adjusted her jewelry like she was allergic to anything that wasn't genuine. From the day I married Madison, Diane made it crystal clear I was a temporary solution to her daughter's housing problem. I'll never forget our first Christmas together, 5 years back. I'd worked double shifts for 3 months to save up for a diamond tennis bracelet Madison had been eyeing at Tiffany. When she unwrapped it, her face lit up like the 4th of July, for exactly 10 seconds. Then Diane leaned in, examined the bracelet like she was appraising evidence, and said with that practiced smile, "Oh, sweetie, someday you'll have a husband who can afford the main store, not just the outlet version." Everyone laughed. I forced myself to chuckle along, but something inside my chest cracked like a stress fracture. It wasn't just Diane either. Her children looked at me like I was a stray dog Madison had dragged home from the street. They'd toast to her bright future while shooting glances in my direction like I was a roadblock she'd eventually have to navigate around. Her other children whispered just loud enough for me to catch fragments. Madison could have done so much better. And what was she thinking? Madison never once defended me, not a single time. She'd sit there with that frozen smile, neither confirming nor denying their assessment, like she was waiting to see which way the wind would blow. Over time, I realized it wasn't just casual family cruelty. They had a plan. To them, I was training wheels. The safe option she could practice marriage with until someone worthy came along. Someone with clean fingernails and a corner office. Someone who could afford to buy their approval with expensive vacations and country club memberships. And then Brooks Manning stepped into the picture like he was auditioning for the role they'd been casting for years. The first time I met him was at Madison's company mixer last spring. Tall, confident, with that hollow smile of a man who thinks every conversation is a sales opportunity. Madison practically glowed when he was around, her laugh sharper, her eyes brighter, her whole body language shifting like she'd plugged into a different power source. Her family noticed immediately. Diane leaned across the table that night, whispered something in Madison's ear, and suddenly both women were giggling like schoolgirls sharing secrets. From then on, little by little, I became invisible at family gatherings. If I spoke, conversations shifted. If I offered to help in the kitchen, her siblings would roll their eyes and find excuses to send me away. If I tried to join their discussions about business or investments, they'd smile politely and change the subject to something they figured was more my speed, like sports or the weather. I wasn't Madison's husband anymore. I was the placeholder they were preparing to replace. That realization burned like touching a live wire, but it also gave me perfect clarity. Every smug look, every dismissive comment, every whispered insult wasn't random cruelty. It was evidence. Evidence that this family had already written me off, already selected my replacement, already planned Madison's upgraded future. So, when Madison stood up on that Christmas morning, wine glass raised like she was delivering a royal decree, their applause didn't shock me. No, it only confirmed what I had suspected for over a year. They were celebrating not just her freedom, but the arrival of the man they had always believed she deserved. What they didn't know was that I'd been collecting evidence of that plan for 14 months, and they were about to discover what happens when you celebrate too early. The night I finally caught them together felt like the last piece of a jigsaw puzzle snapping into place. November 18th, a Thursday evening that would change everything. Madison told me she had a late client dinner, some emergency meeting with potential investors for a new development project. She dressed sharper than usual, checked her makeup 3 times, and practically floated out the door on a cloud of expensive perfume. I didn't confront her, didn't argue or demand details. Instead, I waited exactly 30 minutes, then checked the GPS tracker that had been faithfully documenting her lies for 13 months. The signal showed her BMW heading toward Copper Mountain Resort, the same destination she had visited 16 times before. I grabbed my phone and my truck keys. This time, I wouldn't just rely on GPS coordinates. This time, I needed visual proof that would stand up in court. The drive to Copper Mountain took 58 minutes through winding mountain roads, giving me plenty of time to think about what I might find. Part of me still hoped I was wrong, that there was some innocent explanation for all the lies and stolen money. But when I arrived at the resort and saw Madison's BMW in the parking lot, any remaining doubt evaporated like morning mist. I parked across the street in the shadows of a construction site, ironically appropriate, and waited. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the resort's restaurant, I could see Madison sitting at a corner table, candles flickering between her and a man I recognized immediately. Brooks Manning, leaning back in his chair like he owned the place, one hand gesturing while he talked, the other reaching across the table to cover Madison's fingers with his own. They weren't discussing development projects or marketing strategies. This was intimate, personal, the kind of conversation that happens when two people think they're invisible to the world. I lifted my phone and started recording. Video after video, Madison laughing at something he said, Brooks lifting her hand to kiss her knuckles, the two of them standing to leave together, his hand finding the small of her back as they walked toward the elevator bank. The GPS had told me where they were, but my phone was capturing why they were there. I could have stormed inside right then, could have confronted them in front of the entire restaurant, made a scene that would have ended up on someone's social media. But I remembered the lesson my foreman taught me during my first year on the job. Never tear down a building before you've documented every structural flaw. Otherwise, you'll just have a pile of rubble and no case for why it failed. This wasn't the moment to explode. This was the moment to build my case, one piece of evidence at a time. I lowered the phone, put the truck in drive, and headed home through the December darkness. When Madison returned 3 hours later, hair slightly mussed, lipstick reapplied, but not quite perfect, she found me exactly where she'd left me, sitting in front of the TV with a beer, watching a Broncos replay like nothing in the world had changed. "How was your meeting?" I asked without turning around, my voice casual as weekend morning coffee. She froze in the doorway for a heartbeat, then forced that practiced smile I'd come to know so well. "Productive. Really productive. I think we might land this account." I nodded like I believed every word, while inside my head, I was already planning how to use this evidence. From that night forward, I stopped thinking of Madison as my wife. She was a case I was building, a defendant who didn't know she was being prosecuted. Over the next month, leading up to Christmas, I gathered the final pieces of my evidence portfolio, bank statements showing the full scope of her embezzlement, $47,000 over 14 months, averaging $3,400 per month, hotel receipts with her signature authorizing client entertainment that was actually financing her affair, credit card statements showing purchases from Manning Materials that had nothing to do with business. But the most damaging evidence was the pattern itself. Every Thursday evening, client meeting corresponded to a GPS location at Copper Mountain Resort. Every corporate retreat weekend matched up with hotel charges and unexplained absences. Every promotional expense from Manning Materials coincided with jewelry appearing on Madison's body, or romantic dinners showing up on our credit card statements. The math was simple and devastating. Madison hadn't just been cheating on me. She'd been running a sophisticated embezzlement scheme to finance her affair, using our business accounts as her personal piggy bank, while planning her escape to a better life with Brooks Manning. I organized everything into a presentation that would have made my construction project managers proud. Charts, timelines, financial summaries, everything cross-referenced and color-coded like a major construction bid. Madison thought she was clever, but she'd left a paper trail that would make a forensic accountant weep with joy. Christmas morning arrived like the final scene of a play I'd been directing from behind the curtain. Back to that living room, the smell of turkey and pine, the sound of wrapping paper being shredded by excited children. Madison stood over me like a queen delivering a royal decree, her family surrounding her like a court of medieval nobles, celebrating the fall of a peasant uprising. Their laughter filled the room, bouncing off the walls like jackhammer noise echoing through an empty building. I rose slowly, setting my wine glass down with deliberate care, feeling every eye in the room focus on me like spotlights. The room quieted just enough for my voice to carry across the sudden tension. "Thank you, Madison," I said, my voice steady as a foundation pour. "Truly, you've given me the best Christmas gift I could have asked for." Confusion rippled through the crowd like cracks spreading through concrete. Her sister Brooke frowned, glancing at her mother for guidance. Madison's triumphant smile flickered like a light bulb about to burn out. "What are you talking about, Wyatt?" she asked, her voice carrying the first hint of uncertainty I'd heard all morning. I reached into the bag I'd brought from my truck, pulling out a slim laptop computer. "Since we're celebrating honesty today, I thought it might be nice to share some memories with everyone." Madison's eyes widened like she'd just seen a ghost walking through the front door, She knew. Somewhere in the back of her mind, she had to know what was coming. Her mother leaned forward, still wearing that condescending smile that had become her trademark. Memories? How thoughtful of you, Wyatt. I opened the laptop, connected it to the 75-inch TV mounted on the wall, the same TV I'd installed last year as a Christmas present for the family. Yes, I said calmly, pressing a key that brought the screen to life. Moments worth remembering. For exactly 3 seconds, the room held its breath like a construction site during a safety inspection. Then the video began playing, crystal clear and perfectly framed. Madison walking into the Copper Mountain Resort on November 18th, her hand intertwined with Brooks Manning's fingers. Another clip from the same evening, the two of them at dinner, her head thrown back in laughter at something he'd whispered across the candlelit table. A third video, Brooks's hand on her back as they entered the elevator together, heading up to the suite she'd charged to our company account as client entertainment. Gasps filled the room, like air being sucked out of a deflated balloon. Madison dropped her wine glass, the crystal, shattering against the hardwood floor, red wine spreading like spilled blood across the white oak planks. The family that had been cheering seconds earlier now sat frozen in their chairs, their celebration dying in their throats like a choked engine. Her lover wasn't just a shadow on a screen anymore. He was right there in high definition for everyone to see, his face clearly visible as he kissed her hand in the restaurant. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. The doorbell rang exactly on cue, like I'd scripted the entire production. Brooks Manning stepped through the front door, carrying a neatly wrapped gift and wearing that confident smile he'd perfected in sales meetings. But his expression collapsed like a demolished building when he saw the TV screen. His own face stared back at him, arm around Madison, lips pressed against her neck in the hotel lobby footage I'd captured. The gift slipped from his hands, hitting the floor with a dull thud that seemed to echo through the sudden silence. Madison's mother sat there with her mouth hanging open, her practiced superiority crumbling like wet drywall. Her father's smug expression curdled into something that looked like pure nausea. "Merry Christmas, everyone," I said quietly, my voice cutting through the silence like a blade through fresh concrete. To honesty, to family, and to getting exactly what we deserve. But I wasn't finished, not even close. I reached into my bag again, this time pulling out a thick manila folder that landed on the coffee table with the weight of justice itself. "You thought I was just some stupid construction worker, didn't you, Madison? Too focused on my little projects to notice what you were really doing?" I opened the folder, pages spilling across the table like evidence at a crime scene. Bank statements, credit card bills, hotel receipts. 14 months of Madison's systematic theft, documented in black and white. Her father picked up one of the statements, his hands trembling as he read the numbers. His face went pale as winter morning. What is this?" he stammered, his voice barely a whisper. "Evidence," I replied, my voice carrying the authority I'd developed from 20 years of managing construction sites and million-dollar budgets. "Madison hasn't just been cheating on me. She's been embezzling company funds for 14 months. Every spa weekend, every shopping spree, every romantic getaway with Brooks, all of it paid for with money stolen from Coleman Construction." I leaned forward, letting the full weight of the revelations settle over them like concrete hardening in forms. $47,000. That's what she's stolen since October of last year. Company credit cards used for personal expenses, business accounts drained to finance her affair, corporate funds treated like her personal piggy bank to buy gifts for her boyfriend's company. The room erupted in chaos, voices overlapping like competing jackhammers. Madison lunged for the papers, but I was faster, scooping them up before she could destroy the evidence. "Every transaction has her signature," I announced, my voice rising above the noise. "Every hotel bill, every jewelry purchase, every romantic dinner with Brooks. All documented, all illegal, all traceable back to her." Madison's knees buckled, and she gripped the edge of the coffee table like it was the only thing keeping her upright.